Hey everybody, Tom here with Hidden Beats, and today we are talking with Amanda Hagel. How are you doing?
Hey, good, Tom. Thanks for having me. Great to be here. Hi to all your listeners, and looking forward to it.
We're here today to talk with you about your music and about what you bring to the world. But for those who are new, can you give maybe a little introduction about yourself?
Yes, I'm from a small town. Grew up in a small town called Lancer in the southwest corner of Saskatchewan, Canada. So music's always been a big part of my life. I grew up in a family, a big family. I was the youngest of nine kids. So we were always very musically inclined. Lots and lots of siblings who play instruments and sing. So music was kind of a big hub for me when I was growing up. I had a lot of great role models to aspire to be, and the journey has just continued from a young age.
hmm
And it's been an exciting adventure so far. And I now live in Saskatoon, but the country world, the country scene, is always going to be a big part of my life. And growing up in the country was certainly a part of that.
Yeah, for sure. And having a musical family, it's always got to be a little bit fun. There's always something going on, probably.
Yeah, it's a never-ending story. Eventually, as other people can maybe attest to in a musical family, at some point there's going to be some singing. So
hmm
somebody's going to break out a guitar, somebody's going to, go sit at the piano. For me, it's just it's always a treat, a joy, and it becomes familiar. It's even doing dishes. We used to sing doing dishes, which
Yeah.
you know, whoever washed got to pick their favorite song. That was how it worked. So
Oh, that's fun. For me, I just throw
yeah,
headphones on because and do dishes or whatever because there's always too much other noise going on somewhere.
there you go.
Mhm.
That works too.
Yeah. So you talked about some of your, having lots of family music, but who are some of the influences that helped you spring into your musical career?
Well, I grew up in kind of that era when I was young, where the great country women of the '90s were just like the wave was just happening,
hmm
and in country music. So people like Trisha Yearwood, Martina McBride, Patty Loveless, Alison Krauss. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So those ladies. I mean, it was just constant, and there was so much amazing music created at that time that I think it just became natural for me to kind of want to move into the country genre. Not just because I grew up as a country girl wearing Wrangler jeans and cowboy boots, but more just because I had such a beautiful influence of all these amazing women and then good, wholesome people as well, right? So I was very fortunate to grow up and be influenced in that era for sure.
Is there like an album that kind of was the one album that you listened to back to front and like burnt it out that you listened to it too much?
Well, I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but I don't know if you recall Columbia Records or
Mhm.
Columbia. Yeah, was it Columbia Records? Was that the name of the organization you could join and then you could get all these CDs, right?
Yeah,
So
Columbia
that was
House
when,
where you had the
yeah,
list. Yeah.
yeah. So CDs were a big deal when I was growing up.
hmm
And so I ordered, I think one of the first 10 or 12 that I got, one of them was a Martina McBride album. I think it was her second record, and it was called Wild Angels.
Okay, yeah.
And I just fell in love with that whole. I think I learned every song, how to play and sing every song on that record, and I still love listening to it today. So I
Mhm.
still have CDs. I'm not getting rid of them. I tell you, I'm keeping them. So
I have a few
um,
too. I have a little collection, but I did get rid of some, space saving at the time. So
for sure, it just feels so crazy that it's getting harder and harder to own music now, right?
mm,
Like to actually own it. So I don't know. I'm old school that way. I still like to have a few hard copies I can play in my Jeep when I drive and stuff. So I'm holding on to it anyway.
yeah, and nowadays too, if say you buy something on iTunes, if iTunes decides to no longer hold that on there, they take it off your account. So even if you've bought it, it doesn't exist anymore for you.
Isn't that crazy? And I think, we're so used to just the whole streaming and just the idea of just, music being at our fingertips anytime that we kind of take it for granted,
hmm
right? And I'm always mindful of that. And I always try to give people options as an artist, if they want a record, if they want a CD, it's like you still have that option. I still got a few copies kicking around. So, we're always going to be relevant that way. And if the power goes out, we still have a way maybe we can listen to the music. So
Exactly. And CDs and records and stuff like that are kind of making a comeback in a lot of spaces, especially records.
yeah, for sure. Actually, I've seen websites where you can actually get cassettes made. Now, I don't know how relevant that is, but honestly, some people really are nostalgic about music and how they used to consume it. So I think there's always going to be a place for it, to be honest. And
Yep.
There's going to be a niche collective out there that's always going to want it. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, the cassettes, I've seen those recently too, and there's companies that are putting out like a retro cassette player, but it's with the modern technology and everything like that. So you can get a lot of fun things like that.
Oh, that's really cool. And it's nice that the technology is catching up with that. That's awesome. I haven't heard that. I love it.
Yeah, there's all kinds of fun things going on. So we're here to talk more about your music, and you have a new single called "Call on Me" recently. Can you tell me the story behind that one?
Yeah, that's I mean, I don't know what number this is. I'd have to do the math. I put out 4 records already and a couple singles since then. And this is a song I think for me that is really a reflection of my maturity and my growth as an artist and as a person.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it was last summer that I actually ended up writing the song. And I'm kind of one of those people that really values, deep introspection, making sure that I'm spending time balancing, through meditation, prayer, things like that. And so I actually asked for some guidance in terms of what my next musical assignment should be. Because I was getting to the point where, after a certain number of records, you really want to, well, for me anyways, I really wanted to go deeper into the artistry and really hone in the idea that music is art. And
Hmm.
I need to really, I have a responsibility being given these gifts. I feel that I want to really bring that into the world and bring something beautiful into the world. So anyway, I prayed about it and I asked for some guidance, and the song literally came through almost as a download. It just came in, and within 24 hours, I had written it. And I waited better part of a year, obviously, through my producer and his busy schedule to get it recorded and then do a video for it. And here we are in June, and it's out and it's in the world. And I feel like this message is, I coin it God's message to the world. It's a very spiritually deep song, but I felt like this was the message that the world needed to hear right now. And when people listen to it, they have their own personal experience with it. I feel like I could give my explanation in terms of what the song is delivering in terms of a message. There is an overarching message there, but it speaks to people on wherever they're at in their lives and whatever level, it'll touch them. And I always think that music speaks to people's hearts, and I feel like this one really touches a lot of. It already has. I mean, I've gotten a lot of great feedback already about how it's touched people and spoken to them in a very personal, intimate way. And that's the beautiful part about music.
Yeah.
It does that for us, and whatever part of the journey we're on, right?
And I love so I was listening to it beforehand. I love just the feel of the song itself. It just has this nice kind of almost like a serene nature to it where you can comfortably sit back and just listen and absorb it and just have a good time with it.
Oh, that's nice. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, feeling is the key, right?
Hmm.
And I mean, I know you're a guy who consumes a lot of music on a regular basis, and I feel like, with commercialization of music, and the digital age and the synthetic age of just even AI and being involved in things now, the feeling is going to be the key, I think, to remain, a little bit more authentic and grounded in creating the art, and
Yeah.
it's sometimes really hard to distinguish, but when it comes to feeling, you can't really artificially create that,
Yeah.
that experience someone's having. And I think that, so thank you for that. That's awesome.
Hmm. Now, do you find it
Mhm.
hard to when you're creating music kind of stick to your own self, but also expand and kind of add new things to that?
I try to, I worked with a few different, producers and different musicians. So I always like to let them bring their piece of their creativity and their artistry to the table,
Hmm.
and collaboration for me is the key to creating the best art you can, right? Putting more hearts and minds into the mix. So, I'm always looking for new and adventurous ways to create something, the next project or whatever. I'm actually looking at some more natural tuning for
Okay.
some songs. I'm going back to different hertz and different sound frequencies for a couple songs on my new record, because I just feel like, again, I want to pull back a little bit and try to kind of, create something for people that's, I think, a little bit even deeper in terms of healing and just connection. And
Hmm.
so, for me, I always gravitate towards that. I think that's my nature. That's the kind of person I am. I try to keep things real and authentic and wholesome. And so I love the technology and I love what it does for us, but try to use it as a tool and not
Yeah.
rely on it too much. You know what I mean?
That actually kind of loosely rolled
Mhm.
into my next question was unique processes and things that you might have when you're putting together your music.
Oh, yeah, perfect. It's a
Hmm.
perfect segue. Yeah. So I definitely, I consider all of the elements of the technological side in the studio, but really what we're trying to capture, at least what I'm trying to do, is capture the true essence of whether it be an instrument or a vocal, right? And so if that means I have to repeat that vocal over and over in order to find that emotional moment in the voice, that's what I do. And so sometimes the process is a little bit more arduous, but if it's worth the effort when people have a visceral response to what they're hearing,
Mhm.
right? And I don't like to cut corners. I really don't. I love the process and experience of creation just as much as I love when people get to experience what I've created, right?
Yeah.
And so, kind of the technology side, I love it, and I love using it, and I like learning from it. But I think I'm always going to be a little bit old school that way.
Old school always, it has just that staying power that it's never gonna fully go away.
I agree with you on that. Yep, 100%.
So
Yep.
how do you think your music has evolved over the years from some early releases into coming into the new ones?
Well, the biggest thing I can probably say to that is, when I was younger, and I've been going at this now for the better part of a decade in terms of being on the world stage, right?
Hmm.
I was in cover bands, and I've sang and played my whole life prior to that. So my performance skills have been honed. But when I got into recording music, I was writing, I thought, pretty good songs back in the day, and I think they do have some hold, some staying power even now. But the depth that I've been writing and the places I've gone in my artistry, I think are a reflection of my own journey, right?
Hmm.
So just the experience I've had, the experiences, but being willing to be authentic and vulnerable and open with people as an artist is really important. And sharing that experience along this journey. So, first song to now, I mean, I don't personally think I even recognize myself in a sense that you can tell you're in your late 20s 30s, and now you're in your 40s, and it's like, whoa, okay, there's
Hmm.
been some growth here,
Yeah.
right? And I love it. I have no desire to go backwards. I just want to see what comes next. This is so fun. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
speaking of covers, I love your version of Alone and also Living on a Prayer. They have such a unique sound to them compared to others. Like Alone's one of my favorite songs. So
Oh, nice
when
heart. Yeah.
I saw that and I went, oh, I better click on that and see what, and then I was like, oh wow, this is good. I like this.
Cool. Well, I'm glad, because I mean that was a big deal to choose songs like that. They're such iconic songs, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
ooh, she's a 50-50 chance you're going to be able to deliver a cool version, right? And not that I was not confident in what we were going to do in the studio, but I mean, I've always loved that's those iconic songs that, I played them in cover bands for years as the original versions. And I just felt like I wanted to renew them and give them a different feel. And I don't know, I think we kind of pulled some different kind of emotion out of
Yeah.
them by changing the tempo, by changing the arrangements a little bit. And I love doing that kind of stuff. It's so fun, but yet still staying true to the song and not trying to change it in that way, right?
Like doing
And
it
I mean,
justice a bit.
yeah, like vocally, I'm glad I was able to pull that off, because you don't mess with Ann Wilson. I mean, really,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Heart's doing a tour, I think, and they're supposed to be stopping by. Like I'm in Ottawa, so they're coming here August 1st, I think.
Oh, cool, sweet, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out for that one for sure.
Oh yeah.
Now, talking about all the growth in your music, what's one of the unique things you've learned about yourself as a person going through this journey?
Ooh, that's a big question.
Mhm.
One of the things that always comes to mind for me, and I think this was kind of one of my life lessons, was, being in the music industry sector, you need to learn a lot of different, skills, but also I think, you have to be really discerning,
Mhm.
and you have to be able to feel and navigate through industry and people, and be able to figure out who your tribe is and who the people that are genuinely, authentically there for you are, and not wanting to take advantage of you. And so I've had some big up and down lessons through that experience of just, being a little bit naive in the beginning and a little bit starstruck in the beginning, and now just really dialing it in and being like, okay, I'm going to find my people, and I'm okay to say no to things, and I'm okay to say yes to things, but not jumping on every opportunity, as an example, right?
Yeah.
Or working with just anybody. So discernment's been huge, and I mean, for any aspiring artist, that's something to really consider for longevity and just having a positive experience. You're going to have to go through some ups and downs, but she's an intense world. Any industry is, but this one is particularly, for sure.
Yeah. On the back half of my interviews, I always ask some fun questions, which we can roll into right now. And I think
Sure.
because you said some longevity in the industry a bit now, you might have an interesting thought on this one. What's one thing you think should be asked more in an interview that's not asked enough?
That's a good question because you're looking for new information, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
this is my favorite question out of the whole batch I ever ask anyone.
Yeah. Well, I think do you typically ask people, I'm sure you ask what kind of advice they'd give to aspiring artists. Do you
Yeah.
ask that question a lot? Okay,
Yeah, I
that's
sprinkled
a
that in
really
there and
yeah, that's an important one. I mean, the ups and downs moment questions are always good.
mhm.
The aspiring success questions are always good, but those are a little bit more common. Um, I don't know. I guess I would probably lean a little bit more towards, the growth of the art. So zoning in on, what does it mean to be an artist? Like, what does the art mean to you? Because I think a lot of people maybe they're a little bit misled or a little bit they pull back a little bit from what musical art really is to create as a creator. So I would kind of maybe try to come up with a question about the creation aspect. Like, what does it mean for you to be an artist that's creating musical art, right? Like something along those lines,
Yeah.
and see how people respond to that. Because that's how I look at it. You're not just somebody who likes to sing and play guitar. You are a creator
Yeah.
of a form of art, right? And see where that takes them because maybe they haven't thought about it as an artist. What it really is there do you see yourself as a creator or what like how do you view yourself as an artist, right?
No,
Yeah.
that's a good one
Sorry,
though.
that was a long segue to get there, but yeah.
I honestly, those are I like those ones because it makes people think. Like you're thinking about this now, going, yeah, what would be a fun question to ask? So,
Yeah, like just the creation, because I feel like we got to pull back. Like, I don't know if you're the same in your thought process as me about media nowadays, but it's like there is so much content being created, it's nuts.
mm,
And I just kind of feel like we need to pull back as artists in the music field to say, okay, like we're creating something in a form that is, sound and frequency and all the great things, right? But we need to make sure we stay true to that art,
yeah,
and not fall into that trap of creating something that's just, it's so far removed from its beauty in a sense, like from those roots, which is the sound, the frequency, and that the gorgeous kind of heart-centered connection we can create with our audience. Does that make sense?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like there is too much content. Like I don't listen to the radio whatsoever, just because it's a lot of repetitive, commercialized. It's
Yep.
not really great content sometimes. I don't even have cable at the house. I'm trying to get my daughter on some different things because she's a year and a half, so she's kind of glued to some shows sometimes. But I got her introduced to some new music recently, so she was having fun with that. Just try to expand horizons in a sense of getting into some of those old school feelings about music instead of bright colors and commercialized everything.
Yeah, it really feels like, and again, it's exciting in a sense that as an independent artist, it's never been a more amazing time for us to be out there and just be independent.
Hmm.
We have so much opportunity to find our audience, right? And to create content that connects to them in that way. But yeah, there is a balance there. And so it's cool that you're, introducing your daughter to things that, you feel are of value to her, right? And you're kind of steering her in that direction. Super important as a young person right now because it's just these waves of media that are coming at us
Hmm.
and you get swept up in it. You don't even realize, like, 20 minutes has gone by and what have I just looked at? Like, I don't even know what just happened,
Well,
like,
sometimes she gets stuck on those like the baby shark and things like that, and we have to that it numbs my mind so very much that I have to turn something else completely on just to alter that wavelength because she gets absorbed in it, and then she wants to put it on repeat, on repeat, on repeat, and it's like, oh my God, kill me now.
oh man, no, I agree with you. Like that, and that's exactly what some of this media is, I think, designed to do, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of mind numbing almost, and it's hypnotic in a sense, right? To some
Yeah.
degree, for
And
sure.
that's
Yeah.
the creation. That's what they do is because
Yeah.
on YouTube they get millions of dollars for just having that repeated every
Oh
10
man.
seconds.
Yeah, it's nuts, and again, I can attest to this as an indie artist. I had to tell myself early on, okay, this isn't about the fame and fortune at
Hmm.
all, right? There's something much deeper and much grander going on here in terms of the calling. And I really do believe it is. And I hope to think that more and more people are going to start to find people like me who I feel like I'm on a path of authenticity and a path that's like, okay, this is what you were meant to do on this planet. You're not just looking for likes and clicks and numbers, right?
Yeah.
You're not just doing that kind of thing, which whatever, each to his own. But I'm hoping
Yeah.
there'll be
Well, I
more and more.
mean, you're gonna get a couple thousand extra eyes on you from this, so that'll be fun.
Yay. Well, that's awesome.
So another fun one I like to ask is who plays you in the movie of your life?
What? That is awesome. Good question. Okay. Okay, I've always liked the actress Kate Beckinsale. I've
Okay.
always thought she was super cool. And just because I kind of like the action movies and stuff like that, she seems like she's kind of like, I don't want to use the word badass, but I will. But but
She
yet
is
she's
badass in those
yeah, she's pretty
movies.
badass.
Yeah.
And she's kind of got that feminine kind of beauty to her as well. So she's just the whole package. So
Hmm.
maybe her.
Yeah, that could be fun. I could see that.
That could work.
And it's your movie. You get to cast whoever you want,
Well,
really.
that's right. I mean, she came to my mind first, so we'll go with her.
Nice. Is there something on a go-to playlist that you're listening to that people wouldn't expect you would be?
Oh, that's a good question. As of late, I haven't been consuming a lot of new music, but I go back to the older stuff. Um, and lately it's been strange, but I've kind of been into like the older stuff. So like right now I'm listening to like Gordon Lightfoot
Okay.
again. Some of the older generational kind of singers in that realm. Johnny Cash would be one. He's on rotation. But yeah, a lot of these older kind of old school artists. I'm actually planning a fall concert tour that's kind of titled "These Roots." Is a
Okay.
song that I put out last year. So I kind of want to pay homage to like the roots of country and things like that. So I'm kind of into that mix right now.
hmm
And even the Canadian side, I'm looking at some of the roots of Canadian country and stuff like that. So yeah, Gordon Lightfoot's been playing lately. So and he's awesome.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of old school stuff sprinkled through my playlist. I have some Gordon Lightfoot. I even have like Etta James in there, and if
Oh, nice.
just some of those really classic kind of you can't make music like that type of thing.
No, it's just it had its I think it's just it was a timeless era. A lot of those
Mhm.
artists just kind of and they captured the simplicity and the beauty, I think, of what music really is. There was no frills and bells and whistles to it. It
Mhm.
was just a great song that was, brilliantly crafted in a beautiful voice and a simple instrument. Like, what more could you ask for, right?
Yeah.
Just there it is. Boom, done.
And some of those guys still like so I was lucky enough to see Frankie Valli live like here in Ottawa.
Oh,
And
nice.
some of that music was so timeless and classic. And then listening to it, 80, he's 80 plus years old and he's not moving like he used to, but that listening to that voice of his come out live is like, wow, it was
Oh,
mind-boggling to hear just he's still got the pipes.
oh man. And that's cool at 80 plus. Like, good
Mm,
for him. Like, isn't that a dream of any artist is still to be doing your thing at 80? Like, what? That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and those
Yeah.
are always fun. So I definitely have I like you have the older stuff. I love some of that stuff because it just means a little bit different and it feels a little bit different from today's stuff.
Yeah, and I'm kind of feeling like I'm being drawn back to that, maybe for the future of what the projects that I've got coming, some of the things I'm kind of looking at doing now. It might just be the culmination of all that, but
Mm,
there's something about the way it makes you feel. Like I just feel calm, I feel peaceful, I feel lifted. I mean, all those good things, right? And it's nice to turn your phone off, your device off, and just throw something like that on and just let it be. It is soothing, really, it is.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was talking with I can't remember who it was recently, but we were talking about the old ways of even recording in analog studios and things like that and putting it on tape and just how it just gives you something different when you're putting together that music and it's not created in digital like it was.
Yeah, yeah. I've never had the opportunity to record in an analog setting, although I probably could find somebody who would now. But I did do a live recording last year for a song that hasn't been released. Just I did it just acoustically, and I'll tell you, like, what a difference. It's like you got one chance to get this
Yeah.
right, so have at her. you
Well,
know.
maybe that's something to look into for future stuff if you're trying to bring back some old feelings, find an analog studio.
And it might be a really cool, even as an artist, just to challenge yourself to kind of bring yourself up to that level where you're performing, to the best of your ability. And I'm really big on preparation, so I do a lot of rehearsing. with sound systems and stuff. I'm really dialed in, but
Mm.
yeah, that might be something to think about. It was nerve-wracking though, I gotta say.
Yeah, I could
Wow.
imagine
It
for
was
sure.
crazy.
Another fun one then is what would be your dream late night show to perform on?
Ooh, okay. Well, I mean, Jimmy Fallon is like he's so funny. So I
Hmm.
think he'd be a great one to go and hang out with. He seems like his show seems really fun. So I'd probably have to pick his for sure.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think he's one of the more musical like
Yeah.
hosts in general. So he's got
I would like to do that thing he does with artists where you sing, they do the sing offs or whatever, the lip syncs. So sometimes
yeah,
I don't know, he does different things like that, which I think are awesome and
yeah.
hilarious.
They,
So,
they they made a whole separate show just for that at one point.
oh,
So
did they?
there's some really fun ones in there.
Oh man, it's so fun. People get to let loose a little, have some fun as people, because we're all just people, right? It's all
Mhm.
good.
And James Corden used to be good with his carpool karaoke's and stuff
Yeah.
before he stopped, and those were fun because it's just you're in the car and there's nothing else there. You just have your voice and the radio.
And it's so relatable. Like we've all done it, right?
Hmm.
And then you catch yourself at a red light thinking, oh, okay, well, let's
I've
play into
I've
that.
learned to just go with it even at a red light. I can still be blasting something and look like a complete crazy person, but I'm having fun with it.
Oh, it's so fun. I mean, that's how I'm good in I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm my own person, whatever, right? It's all good.
It took me 30 years to get there, but I found that.
Good for you.
So an important question I think is what do you hope people take away from your music as a whole?
Well, just as a collection, I mean, obviously, like I mentioned before, I've now got quite a decent collection. And for me, it was always when early on I kind of decided, I'm just going to continue to build this catalog so that wherever people find you, whatever timeline that is on their journey and mine, they have a place that they can go and really have a visceral experience, right? And for me, a big part of what I bring to the table is, being, highly spiritual person. So I try to bring the essence of that part of myself into the music
Hmm.
and create, themes. And kind of one of the themes that runs a lot of my music is coming from a place of being heart centered, right? And listening to that guidance, that inner voice, right? That comes from the heart. And so when people kind of hear the catalog of music as they're going through it, I hope they pick up on those threads, right? Like when I do research on things and listen to things, I'm always looking for the threads of continuity in the
Hmm.
information that comes through. And so I'm always dialed into that with the music, and it comes naturally. I don't force it, but that's a big theme for me is the heart and just love, all those things, right? It seems a little cliche, but that's kind of the essence of, I think, one of the big messaging that I've been called to bring to the planet is just to remind people of that. So, that would be one of the things I think people could feel if they listen to a majority of the songs for sure.
Well, I definitely think as a new fan here, I can feel your emotion and what you're putting into it, listening to your music. So I think it's coming across pretty well.
Well, thank you. That's awesome. And I love that kind of feedback, right? Because I
Mhm.
don't always get to hear that. But live shows you get to hear people,
Yeah.
explain after shows, what they felt and how things were. And it's like it's always an honor for me to make somebody cry in a good way, right?
Yeah, no, I that completely understandable in that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, not that I'm looking to write songs that evoke that emotion, but often that ends up happening for various reasons. So,
Hmm.
so thanks for that. That's I love that.
For sure. Now, if you were to introduce someone to your music for the very first time, what's the first song they have to listen to?
Wow.
Your favorite
You get
child song?
you got good questions on your
Thank
show.
you.
Really good questions. What would I say? I guess it would all depend on where they're at in their journey, but just generally, one of the most uplifting, I think, tracks that really gets people, evokes a really cool emotion is a song called "Be the Light."
Okay.
It's super upbeat. It's a song I think that will speak to people wherever they're at, in life. And it's got such a really cool message. But the energy of that song is just infectious. Like it'll capture you right away, and
Mm,
you'll want to probably listen to it again. At least that's the feedback I've gotten over the years, the last few years. So check out "Be the Light," and then see where else the rest of the music will take you.
for sure. Now, couple last questions before we sign off. What's your motivation to keep pursuing the musical career you're pursuing?
Biggest motivator, I think, is one of the best ways to describe it. This is how I'll answer this question. When I was young, I always felt like music pursued me, not the other way around.
Hmm.
And it was explained to me once that my mission, my soul's purpose, was written on the bottom of the soles of my shoes,
Okay.
right? So if you kind of can envision that kind of a metaphorical kind of element, it's almost like even if I wanted to make a conscious choice not to be an artist or not to create music, I don't think I would. There would be no option.
Hmm.
um no matter what I've gone through, and I've had moments where I thought, man, this is hard. Like, I could be doing something completely different and living a life that's a lot more, dialed in terms of whether it be, monetary, abundance, that kind of thing. But something inside of me, and I think this is the soul, this is the essence of who I really am, is just continually saying, Amanda, this is why you're here.
Hmm.
So keep going. Okay, like we'll get you ready for the next song. Everything's going to fall into place. All the resources have always fallen into place for my next project, even though I didn't know where the heck they were going to come from at the time, right?
Yeah.
That's how it's always affirmed to me that, it's keep going. This is what you're here for, and enjoy the experience. Like, don't take yourself so seriously, right? Because I put a lot of pressure on myself, I think, with this kind of responsibility. But anyway, that's kind of where it's at. Is, I'm on this mission and I'm just walking this path, and this is what I'm meant to do, and
Mm.
that keeps me going every single day.
Nice. And last but not least, are you happy?
I am very happy, I gotta say, honestly. And that's a great question for a lot of people to ask, because often in the persona of being in the public sphere, you present yourself as always being, upbeat, smiley, whatever, right? We're not going to put the other stuff on social media. At least we don't very often.
Hmm.
Some people do, right? Which is cool.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, I think happiness is all about, finding the passion, following the passion and finding the purpose in life, and then just finding a way to make that relevant in your life. And some people might kind of frown upon as an artist to have a secondary career, but I do. And I find that career in fitness actually is, it helps to keep me grounded. It
Yeah.
helps to keep me balanced. It helps me to be the best version of myself, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Right. So I can be the best in my artistry. And so for me, that's a full, well-rounded spectrum of what happiness is taking care of yourself, being grounded that way, and then being able to give all of you to into in the world through the art, whatever medium your calling is, then go for that, right? That's your unique signature on this planet that you're meant to bring, and be the light again, right? You're the light in the world, and that is your signature, that is your light to give. And so I'm very happy. I'm super
Oh, that's
happy that I get to do what I do. It's just super fun and get to talk to guys like you, so thanks for having me on.
yeah, for sure. And I love chatting with people and especially learning more because I'm listening to your music. Now I know more about you as a person. And that package together means more to me than just listening to anything random out there. I know
Yeah.
more about you, so I'm a fan. I'm gonna listen to your music now. I'm gonna understand more about what you do and why you're putting it together.
Yeah, and that's cool. And so, yeah, thanks for having a platform for people like me to come on, and just tell my story, and get a little deeper into, like you said, the heart and the meat of who you are as an individual. And that, I know that reflects through in the artistry. So it's really cool that, you're doing what you're doing. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I never thought this would have blown up like it did. I started doing interviews during COVID because I'm actually like a photographer, so I go out and cover live shows.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
then COVID hits and nothing else to do, and someone approached me for this, and now I think you're my 75th interview so far this year.
Wow. Well,
So
congratulations, man. It sounds like it's going strong, and it's only going to get better. So
yeah, like
that's
I think
great.
I'm on track for about 200 this year, I think.
That's awesome.
So it's interesting because it just I hate it being in front of the camera once upon a time too, but now I get to be out there and experience kind of a little bit more of everyone.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, we always looking for opportunities to tell our story and to draw people in. And I know that my music, and you're probably the same, your listeners, there's a certain amount of people on this planet we're meant to serve, right? And so it's cool that we get to go out on these platforms and find a few more of those people, right?
Yeah.
And be introduced to them. And that's the cool part. We don't need to really worry about the end result, in a sense that we're just doing what we love. We're
Mhm.
out there and we're just living our lives, and making these connections. It's pretty special. That's why I love technology too, right? Don't want to downplay that. It's great. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
because if Zoom didn't exist, we probably wouldn't be doing this.
No, exactly. So we're gonna embrace it all, right?
Well, that's all the fun points I have written down, and we got a few more minutes. Is there any final words of wisdom you'd like to leave to people?
Well, I explained this in an interview earlier this week, and I think it would be kind of cool for me to kind of just do a little summary of it. So I had a question asked about what would you tell an aspiring artist or a creative, right? What words of wisdom would you offer? And one of the things that came to me early on was when I was a young, late tween, going into my early 20s out of high school. I didn't want to do anything but just get in my car and go and sing for people, right? I wanted to get into radio DJ school and do all the things and just be in music. And my parents actually at the time sat me down and said, we're supporting you, but we also want you to be able to support yourself and to have a platform, a grounded platform that you can land on
Hmm.
to be able to pursue this. Because, it's really important for you to have that. And so I did. I went to school, I went to university, and I got a degree in kinesiology. And then I got into the fitness realm because I love that. And it was some of the best advice because now I look back. At the time, I didn't like it, but
Yeah.
now I look back and I say, you know what, this platform, and as a result of that, I've been able to kind of, get married, purchase a home. I've got all the things that help keep me the best version of me, right, and keep me grounded every day. And so that would be one of the things I tell people is, it's awesome to follow and pursue that dream. And I know some people might not agree. They'd say you got to go in full bore and just go for it, right?
Hmm.
But it's hard to navigate nowadays with the changing elements of industry and the way people are consuming music now. I mean, let's face it, it's hard to make a full-time living at it,
Yeah.
really. So that's what I would say. Little words of wisdom is find a foundation that you can land on and that you can utilize through the whole journey,
Hmm.
and you won't regret it because it's to me it's been the foundation, the cornerstone for me to come this far in the artistry now.
I
So
think it's very important to have a foundation. If you don't have one, you don't get to do this. It doesn't work for a long period of time.
no, you burn out and then you don't have anything solid to land on. And then you've got to backpedal, and try to develop and establish that foundation that you should have had all
Yeah,
along, right?
exactly.
Right. So yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So I'm glad you agree with me. And hopefully there's somebody out there listening that says, I've been thinking about that. I'm gonna do it.
Mhm. It took me 10
Yeah.
years to get to this point, so the foundation is definitely important.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So high five to us. Great words of wisdom right there.
Yeah.
Bam.
Well, that's like I said, that's everything I have. It was a delight to get to meet you and to pick your brain a little bit. And I hope we get to do this again at some point.
I'd love to. Hopefully I'll be doing some more cover songs. Amandifying, I call them Amandifying cover songs. And maybe
Mhm.
I can come back and have you do a little review on them or something. That'd be
I am
fun.
more than open to that
Okay. Well, stay in touch then, Tom. Thanks for having me.
for sure. And you enjoy the rest of your day.
Awesome.
Bye
Cheers.
now.